Seed Academy Ghana Group Session with Pops Mensah-Bonsu. In his words, Q&A.
Clinton has asked, does the team mind if he says a prayer before we all start?
I like that. We can definitely start that way.
So Clinton, when you're ready, please go ahead.
Father Lord, we thank you one more time for bringing us here safely and guiding and protecting us, O Lord. Father, as we are starting this meeting, anything taught here, O Lord, shall stick in our head and we shall get the knowledge we need to move forward in our careers in Jesus' name, Lord. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen.
Amen. So I would like if we all got to know each other a little bit. So I'm going to go around the room and have each and every one of you introduce yourself and tell me why you want to play basketball. So let's start with Joshua. What did they call you?
Lil Joshua.
Now tell me why it is that you want to play basketball, Joshua.
I want to play basketball because I want to train more harder to try and be the best basketball player in the world.
Okay, I like that. Nice. Okay, Francis, next, please.
I want to play basketball because it's my passion.
Edward.
I like to play basketball because I love the game.
Pastor Clinton.
I love playing basketball because it has helped me in so many ways in meeting people and socializing with other people. And I love playing the game and I would love to become better in it.
Isaac.
I love to play basketball because that's what I'm passionate in.
Good job, Isaac. Evans, can you go next, please?
The reason why I love basketball is because I want to use basketball as a tool to inspire other players to also reach greater heights. Yes.
Good job. Michael.
I play basketball because I like to make a living off of it and take care of my family in the future.
Yeah. Francis.
I like to make a basketball my profession and I use it to take care of the family.
Is it Aldo?
The reason why I want to play basketball is because, one, basketball has helped me develop my skill in both education and on the field. And also, I also want to use basketball to help less privileged people in my society.
Godfred.
I love basketball because I want the other world to see that my country can also make it to the NBA.
Did Isaac. Michael, the other Michael.
I love playing basketball because I've always loved the game of basketball. It's a passion of mine. I love the sports. I love everything about it.
Good. Jesse.
I like playing basketball because I love the game. Yeah, and I love it when I started loving the game since I was born. Yeah, and I want to use it to help people.
Personally, I want to thank each and every one of you for being a part of this. I don't know if a lot of you guys got to watch the NBA draft, but we got to see some history being made. We got to see about 8 or 9 Nigerian-born players get drafted in the NBA. It's the first time that's happened. I don't think any other country has had as many players drafted in one single draft. As an African, it was one of my proudest moments to see that. You know what it taught me? It taught me that Africa is not only not only now, but it's also the future, and that it's only going to get bigger and better. As an African, it made me proud. As a Ghanaian, it told me I had a lot more work to do. I'm sorry, I forget who said that they wanted to put Ghana on the map, but that's exactly what we intend to do, and what we have to accomplish. For me, being one of the only Ghanaians in the NBA, I always saw it as my responsibility to try to do my best to give other young Ghanaians who look like me this opportunity to make it to that level or use basketball to be successful. This is why the Seed Academy exists. And listening to each and every single one of you, I was inspired to hear you guys love the game and why it is you want to play the game. Now, one thing you're going to hear me say often is, what is your why? Why you want to play basketball? I am Pops Mensah-Bonsu, and I played basketball because I wanted to make my family proud. I wanted to be able to take care of my family. I also wanted to have other young basketball players from Ghana who look like me see that if I can make it to the NBA, that you guys can make it to the NBA. So this is why I played basketball. It was my passion because I knew I could do something great if, young Ghanaians who look like me were able to see somebody in the NBA. So that's why I played basketball. Okay, so we went around the room just now, and each and every single one of you told me a reason why you love the game of basketball and why you want to play it. And for me, I told you my reasons. And at a young age, I looked myself in the mirror and I told myself, using those reasons, I would never let any obstacle, any roadblock stop me from accomplishing my goals. You understand? Because for me, I knew if I had the opportunity to even make it close to the NBA or make something of myself playing this game, then guys like yourself knew that it was possible. So that's why every time I went to work out, every time I went to the gym, even if I was tired and didn't want to go, I always found motivation to do so, because when I see, kids like Joshua, getting up and joining this academy, it's a big deal to me. It's special to me. That's why I feel like it's a responsibility as a former NBA player and a player of Ghanaian descent and African descent, I should say too. It's my duty to give you guys a chance to make it to that next level. It's my duty. It's a responsibility. It's not something that people think we want to do. It's something I have to do. I have to reach back and get. Allowing you guys to understand that yes, the NBA is where everybody wants to go to. The NBA is the top league in the world. But I played 10 years of basketball and I only played 4 years in the NBA. The rest of my career was in Europe. I played in Russia, in Spain, in Italy, in France, in Turkey, in Greece. So, and I still was able to have a great career doing it. So one thing I wanted to stress on you guys is, yes, I would love to have a wave of Ghanaian players or players from this academy get an opportunity to make it to that level, but to let you know that you're still a success even if you don't make it to the NBA. For me, I never, when I was growing up, I just wanted to I always set goals. And as I went on in my life, I kept trying to achieve them. And if I achieved them, I would set more goals. So for me, when I was, a lot of you guys' age, around 16, 17, I said, I just want to go to college. I just want to go to school. I don't know how I'm going to go. I don't know how I'm going to get the education, but I know I want to do it. Then I was able to get a scholarship to go to George Washington University. Once I got there, I told myself, I want to see if I can start on this team, just to see if I can be one of the better players on the team. And then when I was able to do that, I set another goal. And then I became one of the better players in the conference and then in the country. And then, God willing, I was able to enter the draft as a junior, in my third year in school, I should say. So this is part of what we're trying to do. We're trying to instill this foundation and this mindset in you guys so you can understand how to be successful, what it takes to do so, and letting you know that there's levels to success too. For me, I always thought, playing in the NBA was the only way I could help young Ghanaian players. And then I realized having a successful career in the EuroLeague is just as inspiring. I spent half my time there, but I still was able to play against some of the best players in the world. And it's still, very successful. And, again, it's not too many other people have been able to do it. So, I really want you guys to know that, yes, trying to make it to the NBA is what everybody should want to do. But if it doesn't happen, it's okay. It's okay. You can still be a success. You can still get your education. You can still play professional basketball. There's so many other opportunities. So we just want you to understand that there's more to basketball than just the NBA. When I first started playing the game, the learning the part of the game for me was boring. Everybody looks at it as boring, but I think the fundamentals of your game is literally the most important part of basketball. I remember I used to spend, hours on hours just trying to practice a left hand layup. And it took a long time, but once I mastered it, I could do it in the games. And, I'm sure you guys see guys like, LeBron, Steph Curry, James Harden doing all these crazy and fancy moves, but they can only do that because they have the basic fundamentals. And I remember starting from scratch. I didn't even get on the court when I was learning the fundamentals. I had a basketball, I went to the wall, and I was practicing my ball handling every single day. I didn't know if I was going to be a point guard, a small forward, or a center. But one thing my coach who taught me how to play the game taught me was everybody needed to learn how to do everything on the court, whether it's shoot, dribble, pass, your footwork, everything. And it all helps your basketball IQ. Developing a basketball IQ at a young age is key for your game. For me, I didn't stop playing basketball until I was 13 years old. And so I always felt like I was playing catch up. And I always felt like I was having to work that much harder than everybody else so that I could catch up to them in the game, because I felt like I started so late. And if I wanted to make it to the NBA or make it to Division I college, I had to make sure that, I put the work in. And that wasn't a possibility. Yes, I was gifted with the, athletic ability, but that was only going to get me but so far. And so I had to start at the basics and went back to my fundamentals. I'm talking, you come into the gym and you have a routine. Every time I came into the gym, the routine that I did is what allowed me to brush up or hone up on the skills that I had practiced for so long and be prepared to do it in the game. What I've noticed a lot from a lot of young players, they're obviously influenced by the players that they see. So when you see Steph Curry shooting from half court when he warms up and doing all these crazy fancy drills, a lot of people think that's how he gets there. But Steph Curry usually his first shots are all at the basket. It's all within a few feet. He's taking layups with his right hand, his left hand, reverse layups, practicing finishing and practicing getting his touch, because he knows that's going to be key for him when he has to shoot the ball from 30 feet. I think true success doesn't come without failure. And so you have to struggle a little bit to see, to continue to remain hungry and continue to work. So I wanted to have each and every one of you ask me a question. I want you to ask me a question, and from that question, I'm going to determine something about each and every one of you. So on my screen, I'm going to start with Joshua, our youngest guy. And let me say something about Joshua. How old are you, Joshua, again?
I'm 8 years old.
That's amazing. This is what it's all about for me. These seeing something like this, makes me proud, and that's part of my why. That allows me to understand, it keeps me motivated. Seeing a young kid like Joshua, participating in something like this. I didn't even know what basketball was when I was 8. And, I tell you guys, I didn't start playing till I was 13. I wasn't very good when I started, and, I just kept working. And, a lot of things had to go my way, but I was able to make it to the NBA. So when I see a kid like Joshua and his dad next to him, which is also inspiring, because my parents didn't see me play until I was, almost in my 20s or getting ready to go to the NBA. And that's always key, to have support from your family too. Seeing a young kid like Joshua being a part of this is great and inspiring, because that means that, we're able to start reaching younger players, which means you guys have more opportunity to develop and create those habits to become great. So, I'm sure I'm going to be hearing about a lot of you moving forward, but I'm really proud of Joshua for being a part of this. Thank you. So go ahead, Joshua, if you have a question for me, go ahead.
How do you feel when you started going to college?
How did I feel? That's a great question. For me, when I first got to university, I was determined and motivated for sure, because I remember when the coach offered me the scholarship, you always sign a letter of intent, and that's the letter that says I agree to come to the school. They wouldn't send my letter until one of the other players that they were recruiting signed. So me going to that school was based on somebody else signing too. And for me, it just showed to me that I wasn't good enough yet. I wasn't that impactful of a player for them to feel comfortable just giving me a scholarship. So that motivated me. Anytime I felt like people looked at me as less than or told me I couldn't do something, it made me work twice as hard to try and achieve it. And seeing that, it inspired me, and I always had stuff to motivate myself. So when I first got to college, I was determined. I was excited to try and meet those marks, achieve those goals that I set for myself. I remember I told you I wanted to start as a freshman. I started. And when I saw that I could do that, I told myself next season, why not try being one of the best players in the conference? I was most improved player as a sophomore. My third year, I told myself, try to be one of the best players in the country. And I was, blessed enough to be able to enter the draft as a junior, my third year. And then after that, I went on to the NBA. So, quietly, I was slowly but surely achieving these goals. And every year, I got better and got closer to my ultimate goal, which was making it to the NBA. So I think my mindset was all about, exceeding expectations and surprising myself. I always tell myself, if I can surprise myself, then, I'm doing something, because I set my goals and expectations pretty high. And if I achieve them or exceed them, then I know I've done, I've been able to do something, because I'm my own toughest critic. So does that answer your question, Joshua?
Was there a moment where you wanted to give up, and what kept you going?
That's a really, really, really good question. That's a really good question, because like I said, I've ran into many obstacles in my life, and many a times I've wanted to quit. I've had 13 operations, 13 surgeries over the course of my career. And every single time I looked at myself in the mirror, and I even looked at God sometimes, and was like, why me? Why do I have to get hurt? And it pushed me to almost quit a few times. I think Benny and my brother Benson were also there when I was in the Olympics, and I hurt my knee. It was the biggest stage, and I get to play in front of my family and my friends, and and I get hurt, and I questioned my faith, and I wanted to give up. And I remember telling them that I retired right there at the height of my career, just because it was just difficult to experience that. So it just made me want to quit. I've wanted to quit a few times. I've wanted to quit a number of times, but had I ever done it? No. You know why I didn't do it? Because remember that question I actually asked each and every one of you before we started? It was my why. It was you guys. It was my family. It was, it was me trying to achieve something so that, kids like Joshua and everybody else on this call can see that it's achievable. So I always told myself it's much more difficult to quit than it is to keep going. It was too difficult for me to stop playing and to give up, because then that's just the easy way. Nothing worth achieving in life is going to come easy. And so that's just how I look at it. I look at any obstacle that runs in my way as that God has prepared me to be successful. And that's how I looked at it. So yeah, there have been times I've wanted to quit and wanted to give up, but I never could, because I always thought back to why I started playing. Great question though.
Okay, so I wanted to ask, so how do you build your confidence? And then how are you able to differentiate your confidence from your pride?
Wow. Man, how old are you, Kelvin?
I'm 20.
20. Wow, that's an amazing question. That's actually, I'm be honest with you, that's one of the best questions I've I've ever heard. How do you build confidence, and how do you separate confidence from pride? I guess he'd mean like confidence from being arrogant. So, wow, building your confidence is, when it comes to basketball, I think it's practice. It's practice. Again, you look at guys like Steph Curry, you see them shooting these crazy shots, but he's only able to do that because he works tireless hours in the gym. He's constantly working on his game. He's constantly working on his fundamentals. And the more he works on that, the better he gets. The better he gets. Every time he comes, he's that much better than he was before. And so that's how you build confidence. That's why in the games, he's able to shoot and make those kind of shots because he's already put in the work. Game time is just evidence of the type of work that you've put in, how hard you're working. That's what the games are for. But the waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, lifting weights, running outside, shooting, working on your game, working on your handle, that's for the summertime. That's for the off season. There were years, my whole career, I never took a break. I may have taken a week or two over the 10 plus years that I played professional basketball. You know what that is? Because I always wanted to get better. I always wanted to continue to improve on the season before. But for me, that's what created my confidence. That's what allowed me to know that I could make this shot or I could do this move in the game because I worked on it. And building that confidence, there's a such thing called quiet confidence. Quiet confidence is when you carry yourself in a certain way where it's not arrogant, it's not pompous, it's not anything like that. But you know deep down inside that you can make this shot, you can make this move. You've worked hard at it, and you know you can do this. That's quiet confidence. Arrogance or pride, like you said, is when people are boasting about what they can do, what they've achieved, and this, that, and the third. Usually, those are the weakest people in the room. The guys who have put in the work, they know what they can do. They know that others know that too. That they don't need to tell everybody about it. So they always say the loudest person in the room is the weakest person in the room. So, put your arrogance aside, put your pride aside, because you're going to run into somebody that's going to embarrass you. And it's going to make you look bad. Even when I thought I was getting ready to go to the NBA and I was going to be drafted, and, I ran into a player who was better than me, who humbled me, made me look bad. And it made me look in the mirror and let me know that I hadn't reached the point where I could do that. And it's never going to happen. Whenever you get ahead of yourself, something is going to humble you. I remember I was in the NBA my first year, and then I got cut. The Dallas Mavericks cut me, and I had to go play in Italy. And I remember my mom called me and she told me, this could be God trying to humble you. Maybe you didn't appreciate being in the NBA the way you should. And to hear it at the time, it hurt and it was difficult. But, I sat back and looked in the mirror and asked myself, what did I do that caused me to be in this situation? You can be confident, but don't be arrogant with that. So, that's a great question.
Were you ever frightened when playing with the good players on the court?
Was I ever frightened? What's funny? I get nervous before every game, whether I'm playing, with friends just messing around, or I'm getting ready to play in the NBA playoffs. I got nervous before every game. I think it's just like, we'll call it goosebumps. It was nerves, but I was excited. So I wouldn't say I was scared, but I would always get nervous. But whenever I was nervous, I always knew that I was ready. Because if I wasn't nervous, then I wasn't as excited about the game. So I would always try to turn that energy to positive energy. Try not to be, I did try to relax as much as I could, but I did allow those nerves to keep me on my toes and keep me excited. Good question. What do you do first when you get on the court? So that's good, because that reverts back to what our lessons of the day is in regards to fundamentals. Normally when I get to the court, I usually go to half court and I do some drills to get my touch and to get a feel for the ball. I think basketball for me is all about feel. If I have a good grip on the ball, a good touch of the ball, I usually feel good about how things are going to go that day. So, I get my touch, I get my grip. I do some ball handling drills to get my reaction time back and, make sure my, everything is on point. Then I go right to the basket. I go to the basket and I start. I was shooting some layups. It's called a mic and drill. I'll show you this drill as we go along. It's called mic and drill, where you take layups on each side of the basket, right hand, left hand, reverse layup, all that kind of stuff. I do a variation of that, and then I start working on my form. I get close to the basket and I take, shots from 3 feet, 5 feet, 7 feet, and I keep going out and I keep just working on my form, working on my touch, so that I'm ready for it when I start taking my jump shot. So I do that, and then I start. I run across from side to side, shooting the ball from a short distance to continue to keep my touch. Once I do that, then I go into my drills. I'll start shooting jump shots from five spots. Do post-up moves from the mid-post and the low post, right side, left side. And usually I'm pretty closer to being ready to go when I do that. So that's my routine every time I step on the court, whether it's in the NBA or whether it's me playing in the mornings. What made you know that the game of basketball was your calling? That's a good question. For me, that's what made me know it was my calling. You know what? I didn't know basketball was my calling until I retired. I knew it was what I was doing, is what I was, God allowed me to do, and I was able to make it to the highest of heights. But I didn't realize what basketball meant to me or what I was supposed to be doing in basketball until a couple years ago. My career ended earlier than I wanted it to. I still wanted to play to this day, but certain things happen in life where I realized what God had meant for me wasn't what I had meant for myself. And whenever you find out your purpose, that's when you start to understand life. When I realized that, I always wanted to play 15 years in the NBA and become an all-star and, do all these great things on the court to try and inspire kids like yourself. When that didn't happen, I saw myself as a failure. But in actuality, what I realized is that every experience I had along the way was a stepping stone and a lesson that I was learning. It was a lesson that I was learning so that when I got to a certain point in life, I could use all of those experiences to help others. And although it hurt me to end my career early, I was inspired by understanding my purpose. And my purpose was to use the game of basketball, which God blessed me to play, to inspire everybody on this call and everybody else around who were able to inspire. So that's when I found out my calling for basketball, is even after I was done retired and played. Which of these should we spend more time developing as Africans? Wow. Finishing around the rim, defense. I asked this because I've realized this from Joe. I've realized African players are mostly good at defense or finishing around the rim because their natural athletic abilities, and they normally don't last long in whatever leagues they play. Now, Joe, that's interesting that you say that. What that was is that's a stereotype. Everybody thinks African players are just good at Olajuwon or Manute Mutombo at blocking shots and being defenders. African players are some of the more skilled players that have come across the NBA. Look at Joel Embiid. Look at Giannis Antetokounmpo, Luol Deng. Look at Serge Ibaka. Some of these guys are some of the more skilled guys in their positions in the NBA. I know normally you've seen a lot of Africans, they're big, they're strong, they block shots, they do this, but times have changed. And I think, there's not one thing that you should work on. If you can work on every fundamental part of your game, your skill is going to come. The only reason why, for the longest time, they've looked at Africans as limited or just or just athletic or just known for their bodies is because we were introduced to the game late. I lived in London. I grew up in London. I didn't start playing until I was 13. Luckily, I was blessed enough to be able to become successful, but I didn't let that slow me down. For me, excuse me. For me, always working on my skills, I feel like I picked it up fast. And I've seen that with a lot of Africans. We see the game and we pick it up quickly. Akeem Olajuwon never played basketball a day in his life. He was playing soccer, then he goes, someone brings him over to Houston, and before you know it, he ends up being one of the most skilled players ever. So one thing I want you guys to never corner yourself or put yourself in a pocket. You guys can do anything on the court, can achieve anything on the court, especially if you put the work. Just because you see other guys and you think that we're all one way, that's not the case, especially for this next generation. You guys are going to have the ability to do great things on and off the court. So never limit yourself, okay? We call that the imposter syndrome. When you think you're not good enough or you don't think you can do something just because of another circumstance. You guys can play in your position if you put the work in, if you continue to work on your game and work on those fundamentals, like you said. So, good question. How were you able to balance education and basketball? And what was your daily routine when you got to college? I think time management is key. Time management is key because you have to, if you want to play in college and in high school even, you also have to have your grades and your education. So, I know there was times where my friends were going out or I wanted to do something else, but I had to be focused. I had to be focused to do my schoolwork because I knew if I didn't do well in the classroom, my grades were going to suffer and I wouldn't be able to play. So it was extra motivation to be successful. And growing up, my dad would never allow my grades to slip. If he saw that basketball was coming in between my education, he told me I wouldn't be allowed to play. He took me away from the game for about a year. And, that scared me. That scared me into always wanting to be as successful off the court as I was on the court. So it allowed me to work harder in the classroom too. Good question. What is your greatest fear? My greatest fear is failure. Failure is my greatest fear. And when I say that, it motivates me and it's what keeps me going. My greatest fear was not achieving something so that in 10, 15 years after I was done, I wasn't gonna be able to use the opportunities given to me to the best of my abilities, like inspiring a younger generation or, using basketball to achieve things off the court or to help others. If that's my biggest fear. My biggest fear is in 5 to 7 years, we're not seeing, a few Ghanaians' names being called on NBA draft day. That's my biggest fear because I feel like that's my purpose. That was my responsibility to you guys, to help you, put you in positions to be successful. So my biggest fear is not using the blessings given to me to help others become blessed. What has basketball taught you that carries over into other areas of your life? Discipline. Basketball has taught me to have discipline. When it's the off season, I used to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go and train. I would go, drive an hour to go, lift weights. And then I would, drive another 30 minutes to go work out and train. Then I would play. And I did that every single day, every summer for my whole career. And it created discipline. Fast forward to, me now that I'm retired and I have a different kind of job. I use that discipline and apply it in my life. I use the discipline. I'm always being professional. Professional means I'm on time. The people who work with and for me can depend on me. That's why we have a team. That's why I love basketball so much, because it's not dependent on just one person. You always need your teammates to be successful. You guys prop each other up. So if one guy fails, we all fail. So we always work equally as hard or hard enough so that we can help our brothers with us here too. So for me, those are some of the things that that I'm able to carry over from basketball into my regular life. Were you scared of doing things wrong? Was I scared? I think that only comes with if you don't work hard enough. If you've worked hard enough, like I said, if you've worked on your fundamentals, if you've worked on your skills hard enough, that when it's time to play the game, you get to the point where you're not fearful because you've put the work in. You've been able to work those countless hours, and you're confident doing it. It's back to what we said about confidence and pride. No, so you won't be fearful if you've put the right work into it. So early on in my career, I was always scared to shoot. That's because I wasn't confident enough. Then later on in my career, I put the work in and I began to become confident, and I started shooting the ball much more consistently, and I was much more comfortable doing so, only because I put the work in. So if you kids are not comfortable with something in particular, continue to work at it. Continue to work at it so that you start feeling confident when you play games or when you work out to make those moves. Okay? Good question. Great question. How well can you market yourself being an African basketball player? I think you can market yourself very well. Africa consists of 54 countries. It's a huge continent. There's, like I said, there's so many different countries there. And, like I said, watching the NBA draft and seeing, the young Nigerian players getting drafted, it was inspiring. That was them marketing themselves, because they're putting, like somebody said, they're putting not only their country on the map, but they're putting Africa on the map and letting the world know that Africa is here and Africa is now. And that's what's inspiring, and that's marketing, because you have young kids. What I always wanted to do was get to that platform. Seeing those guys getting drafted should have been inspiring for everybody. It inspired me, and I'm done playing. It inspired me to want to continue to work hard to help you guys achieve your goals and be successful. So yeah, definitely African players can market themselves because they have a market, and their market is Africa. And then now we're putting we're showing Africa to the world. My good friend Luaz always says that for the longest, everybody's always looked at Africa for what it needs. Now it's time to see what Africa has. And you guys are going to be, the start of showing what Africa has. Always think about it that way.
About your favorite basketball player, which fundamentals do they have that you really admire?
I would say Hakeem Olajuwon. Hakeem Olajuwon, I would say, is one of my favorite players because not only was he African, but he looked like me. He was tall, he was quick, he was athletic, he had great footwork. He had great touch around the basket. He started off similar to me, very raw and athletic, but then developed his game to become one of the more skilled players in the NBA. So that's what's inspired me to love Hakeem Olajuwon, because he was able to turn that raw athletic ability to a skill. Okay, last question. This is a good one. How did I feel in my first NBA game? You remember what I said before, how I get before every game? How I get before, I played the meaningless of games. Nervous. I was really, really nervous. I didn't sleep the night before. I was up all day. I was anxious. I was excited. I was trying to calm myself down, and I didn't even go through my routine. Normally, I had a routine where I would go to practice in the morning, take a nap, wake up, eat my lunch, go from there back to the gym, do my routine. I was all over the place. I was running around, and I left the house early, still ended up being late. So, I was nervous, and I remember I missed my first shot. One thing I've always been, the biggest thing I do is always make my first shot when I step on the court. So I always take a shot I know I can make, and it's usually just a layup. That's one thing that allows me to keep my fundamentals and keep my mind, keep me grounded when I get to the court. Regardless of how good I'm doing, I always shoot a layup first. Seeing that ball go in the basket does something to you. It does something to you, and it allows you to perform. So for me, I would always make my, regardless of where I am, I'd always just take a layup. made the first basket. I'm good to go today. And so, I missed again, and it had me nervous. It wasn't until I had gotten my first dunk that I was able to calm down, and it, allowed me to feel at home.
To just add to what Pops has said, Pops taking this journey and playing at the highest level, whether it's in the NBA or the EuroLeague, inspired not just him, but people like me. I wouldn't be in sports if I hadn't seen Pops doing what he's doing or was able to do and still doing now. Be safe, wear a mask, listen to your parents, listen to the advice Pops gave you today. I hope you were really listening and really start using that to better yourselves, all right? Remember our motto, we grow together. We don't grow apart, we grow together. Yeah?